right, welcome everybody to Toronto Centre. I'm Holly Rasky. I am the Liberal candidate in this riding, and I'm so proud and so thrilled to have the Ontario Liberal leader here with us today, the amazing Bonnie Crombie.
Wow. Thank you, Holly, and it is really great to be back here in Toronto Centre. We are sprinting to the finish line, and there's one thing that's really clear, and that is there is a clear choice. This government just simply has the wrong priorities. Look, people are struggling here in beautiful downtown Toronto in Regent Park, but right across this province we see it. We see moms struggling to put food on the table for their children. We see people struggling to pay their rent and their cell phone bill and buy groceries for their family in this same month. We see that 2.5 million people don't have a family doctor right now. And wait times in hospitals are exceeding 20 hours. That's Doug Ford's Ontario. And people have a clear choice to make. What's Doug Ford's solution? To build a fantasy tunnel under the 401. That tunnel will not ease traffic and congestion. It won't be built in my lifetime and will bankrupt the province at a cost of over $150 billion. My government will get the basics right for people. We're going to ensure that everyone has a family doctor within 4 years. We're going to reduce the wait times in hospitals. We're going to cut your personal income taxes. And we're going to make life more affordable for you once again by taking the tax off your home heating and your hydro. And we're going to build homes like here in beautiful downtown Toronto that are more affordable for people. But my priority is healthcare, and let me say today that I'm very concerned about the rising rates of mental health. You see it all around us. As a result, we see 17% youth unemployment and a higher degree of homelessness, mental health, addiction issues, etc. What I'm seeing in our young people are anxiety rates are rising, depression, eating disorders, mental health, addiction issues. That's not the Ontario I want for my family, my children, and my future grandchildren. So it's so important that we include mental health in OHIP. And I firmly believe that this is not a luxury, it's not a frill, it's having a serious impact on our economy today. And I personally know that only too well. I've shared the story in the past that not too far from here is the Seton House, where my biological father spent many years at the end of his life. His life spiraled because of his addiction, extreme addiction to alcohol. And it tore him away from my mom and I, and as a result, I was raised by my mother and grandparents in a rooming house in the High Park area, and he became homeless, and towards the end of his life, he spent it at the Seton House. And I'm grateful for the care that they provided to him and this gave him the programs and the counseling and the services he needs, but we need more of those right across the province. So my priority is to fix healthcare. So when you vote for Ontario's Liberal, you're going to get a government that's going to put you and healthcare first. We're basics right. Everyone will have a family doctor within 4 years. We're going to cut the wait times in our hospitals. We're going to cut your taxes, but we're also going to ensure that mental health is covered under Medicare, under OHIP. That's our pledge. We only have a few days to the finish line. I'm feeling the wind in our sails. I'm feeling the momentum building. I can see it and hear it at the doors as I go out with candidates like Holly right across this province. So if your goal is to ensure that you have a family doctor and that you want lower wait times in your hospitals and a life that's more affordable, then you need to change this government. And the only way to change this government is to vote for Ontario's Liberals. So I'm asking everyone who may have voted for another party in the past, maybe in a previous election, to come together, to come together to defeat this government. If you want a family doctor, we need to change the government, and the only way to do that is on Thursday, February 27th, to vote for Ontario Liberals. Thank you. I take your questions.
Bonnie! 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 Bonnie!
Very happy to take your questions. Please do one question, one follow-up, and state your name and outlet. If folks are able to line up over here, that'd be great. And for folks on the line, we'll get to you right after folks on the floor.
Oh, Snay. Sorry.
Hi, Bonnie. Barbara with
Barbara,
QP
sorry.
Briefing.
Barbara.
So I think I'm going to ask what everyone, all my colleagues are thinking about asking today. So you decided to endorse Mark Carney today. Why did you decide that 2 days before the election? You always said you wanted to be away from federal politics. Why do that now? And also, are his numbers in the polls playing a role in this decision?
So Mark Carney is a very decisive leader, an experienced leader, and this is a moment in time, and he is the right person for this moment in time. He's a leader that can stand up to Donald Trump and speak with some authority and experience on tariffs, but he's also a leader who will get the basics right, and that's my focus here in Ontario today, to get the basics right for people. People don't want fantasy tunnels. They don't want to give more money to a foreign-owned spa company than it's being invested in their healthcare system today. They don't want giveaways and gimmicks. They want the basics right. They want to know that they have a family doctor. They want the wait times in their hospitals reduced. They want their taxes cut. And they want us to show that, make their life more affordable once again.
But it's still like just 2 days from the election, and Mark Carney, he was like dubbed as very linked to the carbon tax. Aren't you afraid that this might affect you, given the short time for the election?
I have been very clear. Maybe I was the first Liberal to come out swinging on the carbon tax. We do not support the carbon tax. We will not put a new tax on people. They are struggling today. They can't make ends meet today. There will be no new taxes. There will be no tax increases. We will cut taxes. We will cut personal income taxes. We will take the HST off your home heating and hydro. We're even going to slash small business taxes in half. So I'll say it once again. There will be no consumer carbon tax on families, on farmers, but yet we will have a plan that will make polluters pay. The reality is in Ontario today, we have a carbon tax because of Doug Ford. Any province that didn't have a plan to address climate change inherited the carbon tax. So thank you, Doug Ford, for having the carbon tax here in Ontario today.
Hi, good morning, Jessica from the Trillium. I'm just wondering if there's a reason we haven't seen Mark Carney standing next to you in this campaign. Is he actually endorsing you back?
I think, Jessica, if you look at his feed or Twitter feed or whatever it's called today, you will see that the support is reciprocal.
Is there there
I
was
think
two parts to that question.
So Jessica, we're both very busy with our own campaigns, and there's a lot of interaction between the teams, and as you well know, he supported me in leadership as well. And as I said, this is the moment in time, and I think he is the right leader for this moment.
Second question, the NDP is circulating a video of you speaking at the Albany Club. It's about contracting surgeries, moving them down the street. Can you clarify your position on that issue, and if you endorse the Ford government's Bill 60 plan as the NDP is suggesting?
So I don't know how they've taken comments I made years ago out of context, but they clearly have. I think I have been very strong in my support for a very strong publicly funded healthcare system, ensuring that everyone has access to a family doctor and that we lower wait times in our hospitals. I have been very clear that I want a strong publicly funded healthcare system.
Hi, Mirna Djukic for Radio-Canada. Just about the timing of the endorsement, the reasons you mentioned for endorsing him were true at the beginning of the campaign, so why now? Why so late?
This is just the right moment, and he's the right leader, and I think that we're both of our parties, the federal and provincial, are going into votes later this week, and this seemed like the right moment.
And following up on my colleague here, he tweeted, thank you, good luck, complimented you, but he didn't explicitly endorse you. Do you interpret it as a straight-up endorsement?
I certainly do. Thank you. Just much like the way Hazel McCallion endorsed my platform, not necessarily the individual, but that was the intent.
Good morning, Malhamedian Press. Now that Trump is renewing his threat to impose tariffs on Canada and this election campaign is almost over, are you concerned that other issues like healthcare would fall off the radar again during on the election day?
So look, we need a premier that can do both, walk and chew gum at the same time, a strong response to the tariff threat. And by the way, if he had our interests at his heart and wanted to protect our jobs rather than just his own, this would not be the moment that you would call an election, create all that instability and uncertainty. You would be hard at your desk. Clearly, he's the guy that's trying to outrun an RCMP investigation, and what they clearly know and has coming very soon. As we saw a couple weeks ago, there were more allegations made about his own staffers lobbying on paid as lobbyists while being on his staff. So we need someone that can do both, provide the basics for people and handle our health system, but also diversify our economy. I would have started 7 years ago. Diversify trading partners, diversify our sectors. All his investment went into one basket, the EV basket, and now we see that Stellantis is actually laying off 2,200 people in Brampton. My goodness. And what about interprovincial trade barriers? We needed to have knocked those down. Do you know that Jason Kenney tried to work with all the premiers, brought them together to knock down interprovincial trade barriers so that we can seamlessly trade within our very own country? And the one obstacle to doing so was Doug Ford, that he had an opportunity and he wasted it.
Thank you. Following up on the same issue, if elected, would you consider leveraging Ontario's electricity or maybe U.S. states more for electricity?
Look, you can, and I know the Premier doesn't, how integrated the grid system is and how, was it 2002 or 3, a tree fell on a transponder back in Ohio and we lost power for 2 days. So it's very integrated. It's something we have to look at very closely, the impact of our energy grid.
Okay, I believe that's all from the floor.
Hear me? Okay, great. Hi, Bonnie. So I want to ask again about the Carney endorsement. When you started out as leader, the federal Liberals, if you believe the polling, were not super popular, and now they're getting more popular. I'm curious if that kind of turnaround has made things easier for you and your campaign at all when it comes to dealing with voters, being out and about. Are people, the Liberal brand being back federally, does that help you at all?
I think that everyone is very proud to call themselves a Liberal today. Very excited about that. As I said before, this is in a moment in time, and Mark Carney is the right leader at this moment in time. I think we'll see a very strong response to Donald Trump. He is the one guy that understands tariffs better than anyone else, but he's also a leader that is committed to getting the basics rights for Canadians, much like I'm committed to getting the basics right here in the province of Ontario, ensuring that everyone has access to a family doctor, that we don't have long wait times in our hospitals, that we cut our taxes, and just make life more affordable for people.
And then I'm going to ask the same question some of my colleagues asked, maybe in a different way. I mean, we're 48 hours away from a vote. Every minute of your time is extremely valuable, and your endorsement of Carney has now led pretty much this entire avail to be about Carney and not just about your campaign. So to put it bluntly, I mean, what's in it for you to do this now? It's sucking up a lot of your airtime the last 48 hours.
Well, look, here we are today talking about mental health, and this is vitally important to do things that will help strengthen our economy, and giving people the help and the support they need will strengthen the economy. I see crippling rates of anxiety, mental health disorders, eating disorders, addiction issues, suicide rates climbing. We have to do that. We have to do this. We have no choice but to invest in mental health, because mental health is healthcare, and that's vitally important. I don't think we've understood that to date, but right here in beautiful downtown Toronto, we've talked about our commitment to make mental health part of healthcare, because it is healthcare. We've also talked about phasing in rent controls. We've also talked about doubling the ODSP. I saw that other parties got on board with the ODSP after we made the announcement, but it's vitally important to take care of people who are vulnerable and need us, to provide the basics for everyone in need.
so much for being